about office rescue. We have bar rescue, we have beauty shop rescue, but today we're going to talk about office rescue. The office that's in question is a small branch office of a large corporation. The corporation itself is the fourth largest home health agency in the United States, with offices nationwide. This local office was created in 2014 and experienced a high turnover rate during its first year. It is in its baby years, so it is growing. It does have a lot of potential, and it's going through some growing pains as it gets larger. The branch office is made up of 4 office employees and 12 clinical field staff. The Denison model is a model that I looked at as far as some things that could improve the culture of this branch office. Denison's model talks about external and internal focuses and includes mission, consistency, involvement, and adaptability, with the internal focus being involvement and consistency. Internal focus on Denison's model: empowerment, team orientation, capability development, core values, agreement, and coordination and integration. These are all things that this branch office could look toward improving. There are some problems at the branch office. The first problem I'd like to talk about is the culture. Organizational culture is, according to the definition here, a pattern of basic assumptions invented, discovered, or developed by a given group as it learns to cope with the problems of external adaptation and internal integration. In other words, it's the way the employees or the culture, the office itself, sees itself. Is it positive? Is it negative? Are we focused? Are we looking toward the same goals and values? The corporate culture is very strong. It's faith-based. Ethics are very important. The corporation is committed to providing quality care. It stresses community involvement and branch cultural committees or culture committees, so that each branch can have its own positive culture. Sadly, though, the branch culture itself for this office is very disjointed. The employees are not supportive. They talk a lot about things and ways to meet goals for culture and a culture committee, but there's really no action, and it is pretty apathetic. So what are some solutions for a culture of this branch? Some things that could be done would be to look at participation, recruitment, and behavior. Participation, I would strongly suggest that this branch office encourage some activities outside of work requirements. They need to include family. They need to let coworkers learn about each other. If their activity was something that would promote service and giving in the community, I think that people would feel better about themselves and work together to give to others. I think with that, employees could find that they have interests outside of work and develop a connection with each other. In recruitment, leadership just needs to be more focused on hiring employees who are a good fit for this culture that is desired for this branch. And then once they are hired, to make sure that there is some socialization throughout the orientation so that this person can get to know other employees and what their interests are that are in common. Behavior is a big one. Some employees have behaviors that are not positive. So something that could be done is to encourage socialization. Make sure that the corporate culture is stressed. Make sure that all the employees know what the desired branch culture is and help in organizing activities and if worse comes to worse, terminate those employees who are detrimental to the organizational culture, who do bring everything down and cause kind of a gray cloud to hang over. The next problem is employee attitudes and job dissatisfaction. Job satisfaction is an attitude people have about their jobs, and that really is true. And it can be a positive attitude or it can be a negative attitude, but in this branch office at this point, it's pretty negative. So what can affect attitudes and job satisfaction? Well, working conditions, including environment, technology, having the tools that are necessary to complete the job that the clinician needs to do. Advancement opportunities. There are advancement opportunities in this branch and with this corporation, but sadly, because of the geographic location, it's hard to move unless you are willing to relocate. And so it's hard to move up. But advancement opportunities do offer an employee challenge to be more creative and valuable, and an opportunity to increase income. Workload is another thing that contributes to job dissatisfaction, employee attitudes. Overload is just as bad as underload. Overload causes an imbalance in work-home life, causes irritability in an employee, can cause increased errors and indecisiveness. Underload is just as bad. Employees become apathetic, bored, unmotivated. Absenteeism occurs more and more with those who are underloaded in their workload. Coworker relationships is another factor that certainly plays into job satisfaction and employee attitudes. Workers who do not feel that they have the respect of their coworkers, or who do not show respect to their coworkers, those who don't work as a team, those who do not share goals, they cause other employees to be dissatisfied. And they're dissatisfied themselves because they are not receiving what they need. Money, of course, is always important. People need to feel that they're compensated appropriately for the job that they do. In this branch office, I don't see that employees are unhappy or dissatisfied with their compensation, but I do feel that, of course, everyone would like to make more money. That's why we work. So, are there some solutions for job satisfaction and employee attitudes? Of course there are. One thing that could be done is to decrease workload. That can be taken care of in some respects at the branch level, but not always. Employee recognition is a solution. Frequent and consistent feedback would certainly help, and team building activities. Talking about workload, the workload, of course, as I said, the work to family conflict, sadly, is caused by the technology and the advanced technology that the employees have available to them. Each employee carries a tablet with them at all times. They use that to document information, to keep records in the field about different patients. But sadly, that tablet being with them and that technology never offers a disconnection from work for employees. So they can and often do work all hours of the day and night, trying to get things completed or review those types of things. So there really is never a complete disconnect from work. Another way to decrease workload is to increase staff, and that's not always possible. That is governed by the corporation and based on the census, so it can't always happen. But one thing that can happen is those employees with high absenteeism need to be communicated with so that that absenteeism does not create a hardship or a burden on other employees as far as their workload goes. Employee recognition is something that certainly can be done in the branch office. A culture committee could develop ways to recognize employees for their accomplishments. We like to be recognized for things that we do well, and especially by our coworkers. We like to know that we're appreciated. So anything that the culture committee could do to recognize employees for accomplishments, employee of the month, hey, you did a great job, recognition during a meeting, during the weekly meetings that's been done by the coworkers would go a long way to help employee attitudes. Semi-annual evaluations could be held. The employees are only evaluated on an annual basis, but the supervisor could do a semi-annual evaluation, and even though they can't give a raise or an increase in pay at that time if it's deserved, they could reward an employee with a gift card or some other tangible type of item. Advancement opportunities are limited by location. Most of the job opportunities are located in other cities, even in other states. There are openings nationwide. They are advertised through the website for the corporation, through a weekly newsletter. So they are available to be seen, but unless an employee is willing to relocate, opportunities for advancement are pretty limited. There is education assistance through tuition reimbursement, but so far I don't see many people doing that type of thing. So another thing that could be done by the manager at the branch office are evaluations and feedback. And I mentioned that briefly just a moment ago as far as a semi-annual evaluation. That can be done informally. Gift cards can be given in lieu of wage increases. The manager could work with the culture committee to make sure that feedback is given through recognition. The manager could play a huge role in that. Team building activities can also help with job attitude or employee attitude and job satisfaction. Just short, quick team building activities at weekly meetings that included all staff and would be something fun and meaningful at the same time. Could be a huge positive impact. Maybe a monthly lunch for all staff, a potluck, everybody come and have a sandwich, something so that everyone can get together away from the weekly work meetings. And then again, coordination with the culture committee to help with recognition and validity. The third problem I want to talk about is resistance to change. Change is always going to happen. In the book, Who Moved My Cheese, Spencer Johnson says, things change and they are never the same again sometimes. This looks like one of those times. That's life. Life moves on, and so should we. That's a great attitude because that's something that certainly happens. Change is going to occur, and there's really not much we can do about it. So some of the problems that change causes are low morale and cynicism. Those are two frequent problems that go with change. And if they're not addressed and taken care of quickly, then the low morale and the cynicism can spread to other employees. So solutions for this would be for the leadership, the manager, the supervisor to model and help employees practice problem solving. When there's a change, it causes problems. There are internal problems, there are external problems, and sometimes employees don't know how to handle that. They don't know how to solve problems. So good problem-solving modeling and practice could help. Research and communication would be a great solution. Leadership in general, and modeling from the leader or leaders of the branch could certainly help. And then self-confidence and self-efficacy would be one of the best ways to help solve resistance to change. Talking about problem solving, modeling, and practice, the leadership of the branch can certainly play a part in that. The supervisor can present real or hypothetical problems with change and the problems that change creates, and then can model problem solving with input from employees. If everyone is working together trying to solve a problem, then everyone gets the benefit of the practice. Employees then can go ahead and present problems or talk about problems and solutions that they've encountered and how they took care of it, and share that experience with other employees to help them realize that there can be a solution to change, that there can be a way to meet change and to solve any problems that change creates. Another thing that can be done is research and communication. Sometimes we just don't like change because we don't understand it. Sometimes we just need to know what's going on. And I have all right. So research and communication, employees can research problems or reasons for the change and ask questions to find out, why is this change occurring? What is it that we need to do? Sometimes even an assignment. Why don't you check into this, and you, John, check into that, and you, Joe, check into this part, and come back and answer questions for us. And be prepared to help us understand. Sometimes that helps. Usually it goes to the branch manager, the branch director, who certainly should have the answers and should be communicating with the employees as far as why changes are occurring and what the impact will be. Communication has to be open, though. It has to be continuous and ongoing, not just about change, but about everything, so that trust can be built and people can know that the information that they're getting is valid and trustworthy. And you can support your coworkers as they go through change or as you go through change. So it's important that everyone play a part in communication and in researching reasons for change. Leadership certainly plays a huge role in this. A strong leadership should be available to answer questions. They should communicate, as I've said previously, and they should monitor employee reaction. If the reaction is going south or going off the deep end, leadership needs to immediately intervene and get that redirected so that employees are on the right track and that they are understanding what's going on and that there's not any problems with that. Self-confidence and self-efficacy are huge in understanding change. The more confident we feel about ourselves and the more valid and valuable we feel about ourselves, the more we're going to feel that we can handle anything. We'll recognize that change is constant. We can stay connected to our coworkers. We are constantly in communication with our managers and with each other and with our corporate office, and the lines of communication are always open. So that builds self-confidence and self-efficacy. Employees who have that are optimistic, even though they might be unhappy at the moment, they're still optimistic. They know that even though this might be a bump in the road, things are going to get better, and you always come out on the other side. So all of those things, as employees become more self-confident and their self-efficacy rises, then they are going to be able to meet change head on and appreciate the opportunity that change gives. So basically, the three problems that I identified in this office are culture, job dissatisfaction and employee attitudes, and resistance to change. These are things that need to be addressed at this branch office to help get it on the right track so that it can be as important and as valuable and as much of a contribution to the community as possible. Can this office be rescued? Of course it can. It definitely can. But there is work to be done. The first thing that can happen is we can start with improved culture, and that will lead to increased employee attitudes and job satisfaction, and that will lead to improved attitudes and maybe even embracing of change, and that would lead to a quality and fun place to work.